Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at another projector, and this is from iWimius again, and this is their new P65 model. So I have previously reviewed one of their projectors on my channel, so I'll have a card linked for that in the top right or in the description below. But this particular one is slightly different. So that one, the form factor was set up for on the go, sort of mobile sort of setup, whereas this one is more traditional, kind of lay on a surface kind of setup. This one does still boast the same features. So it does have Netflix certification as well as YouTube. It's boasting Dolby Audio. It does still have keystone correction and all their normal features, so auto obstacle avoidance. So it will still do all of that. It just doesn't have that same sort of mount setup that the other version had. Here you can see some of the actual ratings. Now I believe this one is rated for 1400 lumens output. So we'll have to test that. A lot of the ones that claim to be around 1400 tend to be around 12 or 11 once you take them out of their sort of boost mode. But yeah, we'll take a look at what we actually get. So you do have a QR code there that you can scan for the actual manual, and then it's giving you some information in terms of the cleaning as well as the mounting options there as well. So we have the actual projector, we have the brand kit just there, which is your paperwork, and then we have the accessories. Okay, so first taking a look at the actual projector. So this isn't very heavy. On the front you do have the autofocus little camera just there, as well as I'm guessing there might be a sensor there as well. A little bit of Dolby Audio branding just on the side there. You have a lens cap and it does say 1080p just there. You have some rubber feet on the bottom as well as your center one, which that adjusts in order to extend out. You have a little port here and that is your filter, so that is for cleaning the filter before it gets to the actual speaker, it looks like, behind there. I'm not sure if you'll be able to actually see that, but yeah, it looks like there's a little speaker behind there. But it's good that they actually have that removable venting or filter just there to actually be able to clean them out. A lot of complaints I've had from other people that buy these kind of cheaper projectors is that once they clog up, they become unusable. On the back, you have your power button, you have a HDMI input, you have your headphone jack, you have USB-C, and then you have an IR connection as well. At the bottom, you have your figure of 8 cable or input for your power. On the left hand side you just have some venting and it looks like a heat sink behind there. On the top, as I said, just that iWimius branding. That is the actual projector. In terms of your brand kit, this is not going to have much in it. So yeah, you have after sales card and then a little pamphlet, and then in terms of accessories, let's see what we get. Okay, so that's everything out of the box. So you are getting your user manual, you're getting a cleaning cloth as well as 2 toothpick style picks. You're getting your remote just there. So in terms of functionality, you have shortcuts for Netflix, YouTube, you have a browser, and then Prime Video, and then all your basic functions, USB-C connection, quick shortcuts for settings, and then input as well. And then that will be your auto calibration. Because I am in the UK, they have actually sent me a 3-pin UK plug, which is nice to see. And then they also provide you with a HDMI cable in the box as well. Okay, so that's everything that you get with the P65. Next, we'll take a look at how it actually performs. Okay, so here we have the iWimius, or iWimius as they've actually got the label on there, P65. So compared to the G1, here you can see the size difference. The G1 runs Google TV, the P65 does not. So that's running this more basic, almost old Android TV box kind of setup. It also doesn't have a Bluetooth remote, so I am having to angle this at the actual projector in order to get to work. It does have a sensor on the front as well as the back, but obviously if you're just pointing in the room, then it's not going to work. One thing to note about this particular one is, as you can see with the screen, it's not filling the whole screen. So the keystone correction on this one is not as good as the G1, whereas with the G1 you can have it zoom out. So basically with the G1 what was happening was it's overshooting the screen. So I'll show you exactly what happens. So if I press this button on the remote, it runs through. So that's the actual image, so that's how far it's actually projecting, and as you can see it's going outside of my screen. Now normally what happens is it will kind of correct it to an extent to where it it pulls it into the borders, and then I just do the last bit manually. The problem with this particular one is if I go into the settings, come down to projection and come down to 4-point correction, it doesn't allow you to go outside of what the automatic correction has already done. So if I disable the automatic correction and then try and pull this in, it may well work, but the problem is the image that it's kind of found isn't squared off like it is right now. So it's kind of at an angle, it's twisted for some reason, and I'm not sure why they always seem to do this. I'm not sure if it's because of the angle of the projector, whether they need it to be perfectly level in order for it to work correctly. But yeah, that's one sort of initial downside I found straight away, where I'm not able to get this to fill the whole screen without spending a lot of time. With the G1, it was quite simple in order for me to get it set up, so I literally just ran the automatic calibration once and then I just manually corrected. Whereas with the P65, essentially what I have to do is either just leave it as it is and allow it to have a sort of smaller image, or I have to manually do the whole thing. I can't have both as I can with the G1. Now in terms of this software, because this is a more basic one, it is actually quite snappy, and obviously it's got its own app store. You can come in and you can install all of these apps directly from their app store, and then you also have YouTube, and then you do have the Netflix app built into it as well. You have Prime, and then on the remote you also have, so you have Netflix, YouTube, Prime, and then you have the browser one just there as well. In terms of speakers, neither of these are really going to blow you away in terms of speakers. They will play sound and they will be sort of legible in terms of what's going on, but really for both of these you want to use a Bluetooth speaker or a soundbar or something like that to get decent sound set up. Okay, so this is what this projector actually looks like with the lights off. So if anything, I would say this one is actually a little bit richer in terms of colors. Brightness, I would say, is possibly a little bit brighter than the G1, even though I don't think it's supposed to be. So now I have actually connected the Wi-Fi, so now you are seeing some of the additional things that do pop up just on the main homepage. But what we'll do is we'll go to YouTube and we'll try and load up that same video that we were playing on the G1. Okay, so here we are back. So now that this video is actually playing, I would say this one is not as bright as the G1. So in content playback, it doesn't appear as bright. Now bear in mind, I've watched these back to back in person, and there's a few other factors to that as well. So firstly, as you can see, this is not using the whole screen, and by cropping in, it is actually losing pixels, and thus it's losing brightness as well. That applies for both of them. It's just on this particular one, because it's cropping in so much more, it's possibly losing more brightness compared to the G1. Now in terms of the picture modes, so here you can see the modes, and it is actually picking up that this is a HLG video that I'm playing back, and you can see the various different modes just there. So looking at this does actually have more customization. So the G1 doesn't give you color temperature, it only gives you manual gain correction, whereas this gives you gamma as well as the actual color correction on the user mode. But if we just go to their, so vivid is obviously their brightest, and that's, the colors just look completely off. If we go to their movie mode, which is generally what I tend to test most projectors in because it's going to be the most accurate. So yeah, this one is definitely not as bright as the G1. Both of them are supposed to be similar spec, but this to me in person doesn't look as bright. So the other one, once I actually blacked out the room, it was performing a little bit better. Once again, not having a Bluetooth remote on this I think is really quite annoying, and depending on where you've mounted this, it doesn't even reflect. So with a lot of remotes you can kind of just point it and have it bounce, whereas with this it doesn't even seem to be able to do that. So yeah, we'll just go back to this video again because we did have a clip of this for the G1 as well, and yet on here it's definitely not as bright. So having used them back to back and literally straight back to back, the G1 is definitely brighter, not by much, but it is noticeably brighter once you're actually playing back. And the interface, the Bluetooth remote, so out of the two, for me the G1 is definitely the better buy. The P65 is still decent, and if you're using it with an external device, Apple TV, Fire Stick, anything like that, then it should still operate fine. It's just for me on its own a lot clunkier to use, and the remote is the main thing. So the remote, so on this screen it does actually look brighter, but as soon as you go into content it doesn't really compare in my opinion. Okay, so here we have both of the projectors booted up. As you can see, that this does get quite loud, and we're projecting both onto the actual screen itself. Now what I will try and do is just navigate between a few screens. Okay, so we now have both projectors turned on, both the iWimius P65 as well as the iWimius G1. So firstly, what I'll do is I'll just cover up the P65. So this is the G1's picture, and then if I switch them, you can now see P65's picture. So for me, the G1 is definitely brighter, bearing in mind that this is a darker scene, and yet it's still being able to show the colors and everything really clearly. The interface of the G1 is also better. This one screen is where the P65 does look better, but as you can see, it's much smaller image compared to the G1, where it's actually being able to fill the whole screen. It's much easier to use. So out of the two, the G1 is definitely the one I would personally recommend.